today's guest says a further stock market crash is imminent, and we will see more fear in the overall markets. And he will explain why all of this means that silver has yet to have prices soar to its all-time highs of over $50. What will happen next and what will change that? So I want to thank you for watching today's video. Welcome. If you're new, if you are a returner, if you haven't yet, be sure you hit that bell notification. The bell notification is what notifies you for new videos. And we're out here nearly every day breaking down this war on your money, on your savings, on your wealth, and your freedom, and most importantly, how to prepare for that. So today's guest is my good friend, Mike Konnert. He is the CEO of Vizsla Silver, one of the few non-producing silver companies that's actually on the New York Stock Exchange. So we will link Vizsla Silver website right there down below in the description. Give us a comment down below. This is Go Silver Go. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to let me know. And Mike, good to see you.
Nick, it's great to see you.
Okay, so theme is stock market crash imminent that you wanted to talk about. We're in this pretty precarious situation where they printed all incredible levels of money, inflation, now global phenomena, not isolated. Fed now saying, well, we're going to raise interest rates. Nobody knows what to expect. There's a lot of fear. What's your take?
Yeah, you know, we're going from a period here where people were paid stimulus checks to sit at home and trade stocks, and it created a massive bubble bigger than the dot-com bubble. We're starting to see the early stages of this crash here. Now, did we already see the panic and the fear side? And is this going to be a deflation of the bubble? That's possible, but I think we're in for a bit more pain in the broader markets and the S&P 500 coming shortly here. And, I think really what's happening right now is that the market perceives that the Fed is going to be able to manage, this situation. But really, I don't think we're going to see, this come into a soft landing. And I think, when that fear and when the reality that this inflation isn't being managed properly by the Fed come to the awareness of the market, our precious metals and our investments in precious metals are going to do fantastic.
There was an interview I watched with Peter Schiff, and I forget the guy's name, Ross something, and he's a big investor that was known for being an early investor into Tesla, and kind of more mainstream guy, goes on CNBC and those types of places. And he and Peter Schiff were having a debate about inflation. And the other individual said that essentially mirroring what you stated, felt like the Fed was going to be able to control inflation. He said, well, all they got to do the same thing that Volcker did to stop interest rates rising to these huge levels is just bring interest rate and inflation to the same level. And Peter stopped and he's like, you realize that's going to be at least 10%. We've went up like nothing.
Yeah.
And it made me stop for a minute because I was like, here's a guy that's a mainstream guy that's been a successful investor and all these things. And he doesn't understand how the Fed is not going to be, they may be able to crash the economy or something, or crash Main Street economy, but they're not going to be able to stop inflation. And we're already seeing the destruction of middle America. Yesterday, they said that the U.S. savings rate just hit the lowest level since 2008.
Well, I'm sure we've talked about this, over the years here, but even if I noticed this on my grocery bill, we went to buy some meat, the other day, and it was like at least twice the price it was a few years ago. And maybe that's some price gouging, in some ways where they feel like they can get away with the a large increase in price of meat, but still it's it's affecting people. And if you're making a fixed salary, and your gas bill, in Canada at least has gone up 30-40%, your groceries gone 30-40, this is going to cause a lot of issues here. And this is just the very, very beginning, of course, of these rate hikes, right? We're in for a lot more pain here, I would say.
So you think this trend will continue where the Fed continues to say, hey, we're going to stop inflation, and they continue these nominal moves in interest rates until something breaks? Do you think they will reverse course? When do you think they will reverse course? And when you say stock market crash, you feel there's more to come. Is it because of these further movements in interest rates that maybe decimate the working class but don't stop inflation, or what?
Yeah, I mean that's the good question. It's kind of a lose-lose scenario here, right? So someone's going to lose. Is it the Main Street saver, which I mean has already been losing. You're not winning if you're saving, or is it the market? And so you got to think, well, what's the incentive for the Fed? Who's going to be the one that they want to save? And I think regardless of that, we've seen the peak of the S&P 500. We've seen the peak of the broader markets. And speaking of that, gold and silver equities and the indice that tracks it is at its lowest basically ever in value relative to the S&P. So it doesn't take much of a movement really on the gold side and the silver side to close that ratio, but we're really at the valley here, and the S&P is at the peak. So I think personally, this is the perfect time to be involved in this, and we're increasing our bets in precious metals and base metals. As a group, Vizsla Silver is the main focus. For myself here, it's I'm the most passionate about Vizsla Silver. It's an incredible company that we put together, and I think the timing is just perfect for it. But I do see a number of parallels now to the .com boom, and it's funny. People always say they don't ring a bell at the top, but when they were selling NFTs and pictures of rocks for millions of dollars, I think that might have been as close to a bell than we get. I think that's a pretty good indicator. So we're seeing that. And you're talking about this Ross fellow in the interview. This is a pundit, market pundit that doesn't have a grasp around inflation and the Fed's behaviors. And he's probably made billions and is considered an expert. So we're at that point of the market where people have been right so long because they've been in a bubble, and everything's been going up. And many investors in the last 10 years haven't seen a bear market, and we're certainly in one here with the secular equities. So I think there's more pain to come. Inflation is going to impact, inputs for many companies. Home starts. I don't think we're seeing the home starts in the U.S. and the economy doing as well as people might think. And a lot of that has to do with inflation on building inputs and the cost to basically spur this economy on. So, like I said, we've come out of this era where everyone was sitting at home trading stocks online with stimulus money, and now we're in a high inflation environment because of that. And the economy isn't doing as well as as projected, and to sustain that growth from that period, and at least that growth that came in through the stock market. So, I think it's a perfect setup, not only because of the risk in the overall market from the S&P and from the big companies and the economy not doing as well. But I think it's an opportunity because the supply constriction of precious metals, and the fact that there really aren't any major reserve replacements coming online for silver, for copper, for gold. it's just an incredible opportunity here.
So let's talk about the second half of that, why silver hasn't hit $50 and beyond yet.
Well, these precious metals generally have their major moves, when there's fear in the market. And we saw that as recently as 2020, the uncertainty around the economy being shut down in the COVID pandemic there caused gold really to run to its all-time high. And then the prospect of inflation, of course, influenced that as well. And then, of course, we saw silver move, and silver always lags behind gold, and then it follows, and then it typically outperforms in terms of percentage return with regards to gold. And now some of the things that I've seen in terms of the charts that I've been watching, I understand that gold has been under the 5-year average price here quite recently, very recently. And the last times that's happened, actually, each of the times that's happened in the last 120 years of history of gold, a large price rally in gold happened. And a lot of people are sitting here and they're saying, well, why hasn't gold moved? Why hasn't gold performed? And I'll just give a caveat here. The reason I'm talking about gold is because in this scenario, I think gold leads silver, and silver acts as a precious metal in conjunction to gold. Of course, I think there's very strong cases for the industrial application of silver as well. But I'm going to talk about silver in the context of gold here. So we've actually seen gold hang in very well. At these levels, these are the same levels as over the last couple of years. We've it's actually an improvement to the price level. But I think we're getting very, very close to a move in gold here. We've seen some of the larger portfolio managers suggesting a 5% weighting in gold in this environment. I don't think the world really knows that. And as I mentioned, there's this one trigger point here with a 5-year weighted average, or the 5-year average price, I should say. Every time the price dips below that, we see a major move in the price. And I do think gold is due for a serious rally here. And when that happens, silver will be dragged along with gold, and then eventually it will actually outperform. And I think at that point, we could see a move, for gold into the 2000s, and I think we could see silver go well into the 30s on its way to 50 and beyond. And part of that is going to be that silver is bolstered by the industrial demand, the growth in solar panels, the growth in new energy schemes that require silver, electric vehicles. All of that is very influential on the demand side of silver. So we're in an excellent situation here. I don't think it's going to rip people's faces off when it happens, and people will say, "How come you didn't tell me about that?" And I'm sitting here telling you right now.
One of the things that's interesting to me is while you have this deterioration of the global financial system, you have it further along the road to that old Voltaire quote that all fiat currencies eventually return to their intrinsic value, which is zero. We're pretty far on that road. All the fundamentals and whatnot are there in huge fashion. But the interesting thing about it in relation to gold and silver, to me, seems that the fear factor and the psychological factor to give it that really quick vertical push. We saw that it moves nonlinear, it moves like quantum leaps, but the fundamentals are there, but the psychology, maybe needs a little bit more fear, because the difference between March 2020 and that time frame was people thought it was the apocalypse. And then they were announcing just levels of insane amount of money and printing that. And there was all this fear. And so it was this really bizarre time. And then everyone kind of took a breath and is almost like, okay, everything's better again. And we're like in that place where everything's better again, or I hope everything's better again.
Yeah.
It's like this limbo there, huh?
Well, I think it's a position here where people say, oh yeah, my gallon of gas is up $1, but don't worry, I think it's transitory and it'll go away. And the Fed's got this covered. So, I think that's the hope right now. And that's the messaging. But I don't think, that's the case. And, we've seen this before. We've seen this playbook, play out before. And, in 2008, it took a little while after, that crash for gold and silver to really take off. And when they did, they continued well into to 2012. So, we're on the precipice of this, I believe, but that it doesn't also mean that the funny thing is these bull markets in metals, if you look back to them, you think, oh, that, must have been great every day. There must have just been, green days every day on the screen. But, when you're in the middle of one of these things, you don't necessarily notice it until you look back. And that, it's similar to 2020, that run. So, if you look out and zoom out and you think about gold and silver, in the longer term context of the last couple of years, we've been in a solid market for those metals. But I think, the timeframes, are a bit different when you're in it versus looking back. And so we're going to see these moves. I think it's an inevitability. But I think it might come, let's say in a month or two, or it might not be tomorrow.
Speaking of equities, so let's talk a bit about silver stocks. You're the CEO of Vizsla. Vizsla is one of those, pretty rare high level success stories, up whatever 1,000-something% from a couple cents to going from a couple cents to a couple bucks, and did really well after the $28, $29 silver price point after silver squeeze. Then the price went backwards. Vizsla actually was one of the few companies gaining during that time. Now we're in this, environment where nobody knows what's going on. You've got, Netflix down 70%, all this type of stuff. So commodity and mining stocks, have probably been oversold with that as well. So what's going on with Vizsla Silver?
Well, I just got back from the project, and I'll touch on a couple of things, but I've never been more encouraged, more excited about what I saw there than I have now. And it's so clear to me that what we have is unlike anything else out there in terms of silver districts. It's comparable, let's say, to a couple of districts out there like Palmarejo, which Coeur has, Pinos Altos, which is in Agnico, San Dimas, which is in First Majestic. These are all very large 12 plus million ounce producers per annum. But they all have something in common, is that they've been in, commercial production for 100 years prior to these major companies, acquiring them. What's different about Vizsla and what we have is that this has never been in any meaningful production. This has never been explored. We have a district here that's comparable to the best districts in all of Mexico. And if you have the best district in Mexico, you have the best district in the world, because Mexico is the best silver district, and Mexico is the best silver country in the world. So, I believe we have one of the world's best silver districts that's never been explored, never been produced on in any meaningful fashion. And we're just exploring this now. We're finding tons and tons of silver. We're making new discoveries all the time. And we're just getting started. It's I haven't been this excited about the project since I started the company in 2017. So, we're kicking goals. The market, funnily enough, if you liked it at $2.50, it's $2.50 a share. It's a lot more affordable now. But the project has improved and improved and improved. And the company is in financial shape, excellent financial shape, where we can continue our plans, through to the end of the year and into next year. And as we're successful with our exploration and building a huge resource of high grade silver, we're going to move this into production faster than anyone expects, I believe. So, I just, got back down from the project on the weekend, and, just get so encouraged by what I saw there and how the team works. So, we're in excellent shape, and I think the timing will be perfect, really, for Vizsla. We've got our NYSE listing. We've done everything we can basically to open up Vizsla as an investment to the world, and I believe that when silver and gold start to move, Vizsla is going to be the front runner in that silver pack of companies, and we'll be moving towards production in a time where silver prices are climbing higher and higher. And I think that's a great place to be.
So let's talk about best advice for someone investing in silver stocks, gold stocks, commodity stocks, general mining stocks. As a last question, what's the advice?
Well, I think the best advice is to back management and teams that have a track record of success, that are good stewards of capital. In times like this, it's very difficult to be a company that struggles to raise money if you're not a producer. And so, in this situation here, I would say look at the track record of the team. Check if the companies are well financed, if they're able to to complete their objectives for the year or for their determined period of time with the cash on hand, and if not, who's going to raise the money, because that's very important. You have people like Brian Sluzerchuk, who runs Zacatecas and K92 and other gold companies, and that's someone that you'd want to back, that has proven time and time again that's been able to raise large sums of money for big exploration programs, and is successful. So finding people like that, our group has been very successful in raising money, and we keep our companies well financed. I think that's very important in this market.
So give us your rest of the year goals for Vizsla in this year, and let us know where we can find you.
So, this year, my goal for the company, it's part of our larger goal, which is to become a 12 million ounce producer of silver equivalent per annum in a very large scale in this district. But in order to do that this year, what we need to do is continue to drill Napoleon down plunge and at depth, along strike and at depth. And that's going to increase the resource at Napoleon. We're also drilling a new discovery, a game changer discovery at Copala, where we have this very large flat line, very wide, high grade structure. Some of our veins throughout the district are 4 meters wide vertically. Now we have a new flatline structure that's in some places over 80 meters wide. So it's a game changer. We're going to continue to drill that. That's going to be huge for us. And at the end of the year, we'd like to put out an upsized resource. And that's going to help dictate what we do and what we put into a mine plan going forward here, and to start producing in the coming years here with Vizsla. So those are the goals. We're fully funded for the drilling, and we're going to make new discoveries, and we're going to find more high grade silver in the district.
So we want to thank you for watching today. Let us know why you think the silver price has not surpassed its previous all-time highs yet in the comments down below. I think other than uranium, you're looking at one of the only commodities out there that is substantial ways from its previous all-time highs. So let us know what you think the reason is in the comments right there down below. I want to thank you for watching. Be sure to check out Vizsla Silver website right there down below. We will link that, and we will link Mike's Twitter as well. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit the bell notification, all that fun stuff to get notified for future episodes. Mike, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next episode.